Welcome back to Minecraft on the Topic Level. This is your host, Atomic Deke here. This is part 2 of the Tinker's Construct tutorial, and we'll have to do all with the Smeltery here behind me. Now, if you're not familiar with the Smeltery, you'll want to know its primary function. It's to increase the output you get from ores. Now, in vanilla Minecraft, when you put a block of iron ore, say, into a furnace, you only get one ingot from that block. Now, there are some mods out there that will allow you to get more based on either chance, or if there's a skill-based system involved, it will get more ingots out of the block the higher your skill is. But none of the mods that I've used have increased the output across the board. Again, it's all either based on luck or skill, or the skill involved, and even with that, there's usually some luck involved. With the Smeltery, none of that comes into effect. You get 2 ingots from one ore block across the board. No luck, no skill-based anything involved. That's just how it works. And I'm going to show you precisely how that happens. Now, I mentioned before, Tinker's Construct comes with a few different types of ores. In this case, copper ore. And with the Smeltery, this is a representation of the inside of the Smeltery. Let me take a step back. The Smeltery, how much you can put inside of it is dictated by its size. Now, this is a larger than usual Smeltery. In order for it to function, you really only need this bottom ring here. And you also need, I'll open that up so you can see inside, you need a 3x3 area, and the bottom has to be made out of seared bricks. Then you need a combination of seared bricks, seared tanks, smeltery drains, and you need one smeltery controller to operate the entire thing. Now, in order to make seared bricks, you need something called grout. And the way you make grout is you need clay balls, sand, and gravel. The recipe for grout can be found in the Materials in Use book by Skyla. I'm fairly certain it's the first one. In fact, I have the book on me, so let's just take a look. Alright, there's recipes for the stencil table, tool stations, things we went over in the first part of the video. There's a few other random ones. Here we are. The recipe for grout is 1 sand block, 1 gravel block, and 1 clay ball gets you 2 blocks of grout. And once you put grout in a furnace, it'll get you a seared brick. And you need, from there on, using the seared bricks, putting them into blocks, it's essentially how you make regular bricks. So you're going to need at least, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Alright, you'll need at least 9 seared bricks for the outer ring, not including what is down on the bottom. You need 1 smeltery drain, 1 seared tank, and 1 smeltery controller. From there, your smeltery is active and operational. If you're missing any of those things, the smeltery will not work as it's supposed to. Like, you can put stuff inside the smeltery controller, it will not be active. The way you can tell it's active is if the front here of the smeltery controller is on fire like it is right now. So let's put the seared bricks back in place. If you choose to expand your smeltery, like I have here, you don't necessarily have to build the walls with seared bricks. There is also seared glass, so you can see inside the smeltery. But I opted not to do that. And you probably noticed from the seared tank when I've shown it to you, there is lava inside of both seared tanks. The smeltery uses lava for fuel, and it's very handy to build your smeltery right next to your nether portal access, particularly because of the easy easily obtainable lava within the nether. So it's not too difficult to keep it supplied with lava. Alright, here you'll see these two little seared faucets, but I'll explain those after I've gotten the smelting process started. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take all this copper ore right here, and we're going to put it inside the Smeltery controller. Now, in this case, I filled it to capacity, actually. If I wanted to put in more than 27 copper ore blocks, ordinarily, a standard smelter would not be able to do that unless I had increased the size of it and built it up so that I could actually hold more. But there's another solution to the storage problem, and that is to add a chest and hopper to it. For instance, if I wanted to add a full stack of copper ore blocks, let's say, I could throw them all in this chest here, and it would load up through the hopper. It would load up 27 copper ore blocks. Once those are done smelting, which you can tell by this little progress meter here on the left of the block, as it gets closer to smelting down to a molten state, the bar increases. Once everything is molten down, these will go into this bar here to tell you how much ingots worth you got. And once these empty out, more would come in from the hopper. So you don't necessarily have to have these, but if it's very useful for mass smelting. Alright, so these are still smelting. So I'll show you what these are for. You have to have these on the smeltery drain in order to get your molten material out into whatever shape you want. Now, looking down here, you see are these casting tables. You have to have these underneath the seared faucets in order to extract anything from inside the smeltery. And unless what you have inside the smeltery is gold, they will not come out without the material inside will not come out from the seared faucet unless you have what is called a cast. And this is what they look like. You make a cast by selecting a tool part, or in this case, an ingot of any kind. And if you have molten gold inside your smeltery, what you do is you take the tool part, or the ingot, and you lay it in the casting table by right-clicking it. And once more, if there is gold inside, molten gold, you will right-click the faucet, and it will pour out enough to create a cast around the tool head. And then I put in the obsidian shovel head, so I would have gotten a shovel head cast. If I'd put in an iron ingot in that casting table and poured the gold around it, it would have given me an ingot cast, and so on and so forth. Now, since I have two casting tables and I want to make copper ingots, I'm going to pull out 2 ingot casts. So we're going to lay those down in the casting tables. Now, if I wanted to make copper blocks, there is also a casting basin. So I will show you that as well. It is up here. I'll just set it up right there. If I was going to make blocks, I would set this in place of one of these casting tables. But I don't necessarily want blocks right now. I'm just going to make copper ingots. So we're going to pick that back up. Alright, it looks like the copper is molten. Yes, it is. See, I put 27 ore blocks in there, 54 ingots worth. So I have doubled the amount of copper that I could have gotten. Alright, before we start pouring, let me show you why I've got this redstone hooked up here. Now, it's not immediately apparent given that there's no physical connection between the two, but this redstone line is connected to this faucet, and the same goes for that line and that faucet. Now, what this is here for is for automation. If I've got a ton of ingots worth of copper or whatever else, I don't want to have to sit here and monitor the thing and manually activate the faucet for each ingot that I want to cast. Because that's how it works. You right click the faucet, and if you've got an ingot cast down, it'll let out enough to make one ingot, and then it'll stop. That gets very time consuming, very tedious, so I set up this redstone clock and this lever here to automate. And every time a pulse is sent out, the faucet is activated, and it will continue releasing material until there's nothing else left inside the smeltery. Now, that cuts out the need for me to right-click the faucet every time I wanted an ingot made, but if you've just got these casting tables, it's still going to stop with one ingot because all the space in the casting table is taken up. And if the casting table is filled up, the faucet will recognize that and will not release any more material. So there's not much point to the automation process there if that's the case. However, I'm going to take away this oak wood slab to let you guys see what's going on here. Now, I've set these casting tables on top of hoppers, and those hoppers feed into this chest here. So now, when an ingot is being cast, instead of just sitting there waiting for me to pick it up, it falls through the hopper, and it's deposited into this chest right here. So it could keep going until the chest becomes full. Obviously, the chest becomes full, and there's no more space left in the hopper, right in here. Obviously, it'll get backed up again, but there's a lot more capacity to go through until that happens now. So let's put the slab back, and let's show you how the magic happens. So once again, 54 ingots worth of copper in here. And now I'm going to turn the redstone on, and out flows the copper. And there's a certain waiting period as the molten copper cools and forms into the ingot, and that goes for any other tool part you want to make. And as you can see, ordinarily, after the ingot is done cooling, it would appear as a regular ingot, and it would just sit there in the casting table. But as I just explained, it's going to the hopper once it's finished, and it's appearing down in this large chest here. Very cool stuff. And this automation process helps enormously. So if I so chose, if I had, say, 120 ingots worth of iron, I could just load it all up in this chest here. It'd be deposited in batches into the smeltery controller. Once it was molten, I could select whatever cast I chose, be it an ingot cast or the casting basin, for instance. And once that was set up, I could just flip the switch, and the smeltery will run on its own until it's out of materials. So then I could go out and take care of the animals outside, or I could pick some crops, or pick some of the fruit from the trees we got growing out back, or I could do some potion brewing, which we've also got a few brewing stands set up in here. And these water barrels, it's from Pam's Harvest Crafts, as you can see. Very useful thing. So, but that's for another day. So let's check on the ore here. We've got 6 ingots worth left. Now 4, just about done. So that took hardly any time at all. Maybe a minute, maybe a little more. And obviously the more you put in there, the longer it's going to take. But you can also customize your smeltery more in order to add more drains and set up more casting tables around it, so you can mass produce just about as much as you want, given that there's enough fuel to make that happen. So there are our finished products, and that is the smeltery in a nutshell. So if you have any questions about something that maybe I didn't touch on, or if you have any other comments or suggestions on how to better improve the design I've got going here, feel free to leave that in the comments below. And give this video a like if you thought it was helpful at all. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this. and hopefully you'll be seeing more of me in the future. So stay tuned.